Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Cami Ewalt. In today's tutorial, we're gonna go over how to do a full wrap water slide and some of the tips and tricks I've kind of picked up. I kind of struggled with this back before I learned this biggest hack, which I learned from, you hear me mention her all the time, but I absolutely adore her, Courtney over at Courtney's Customs, so definitely check her channel out. But this hack is like a game changer, so I hope that it helps you guys. So if you are here for a full wrap water slide tutorial, let's get started. And I just wanted to remind everybody that today, December 8th through December 10th, 2021, I am running this giveaway for this cup, and I'll drop the details down in the comments. All right, so here we are with a fully sanded and washed cup that I have spray painted with Rust-Oleum white. The water slide paper that I'm using is the Hiippoo clear water slide, and if you need help on how to print and seal water slides, I'll link a video in the description that should help you guys out. And I'm just using this aluminum pan with room temperature water. You don't want it too hot or too cold. You want to be able to submerge it completely, so you want something big enough that you can do that. That way it all soaks the same. It doesn't take very long, and you can test it by like gently sliding the ends of each side, just barely side to side, and if it moves from the backing, then you know it's ready. So I've wet my cup down a little bit, and then I slide just a little bit of that water slide off the backing and lay it on my cup. You want to take time here to try to get it as straight on your cup as you can. Some templates or some patterns will line up differently, but this one lined up pretty well in the end. And I just take a little bit of extra time here to try to make sure that it is lined up on the top and the bottom. My design didn't go all the way to the top and the bottom because I'm going to be putting glitter on both sides, so I didn't really worry about all the way to the top or all the way to the bottom. But so I'm just carefully kind of lining it up, and I wrap it around, making sure that, you know, I've got it kind of secure to the cup. And then while I'm holding it with my thumb of my left hand, I pull that backing off of the right. I had mirrored this design so that I was able to lay it face down and then just slide that backing off. This way has become so much easier for me. I love it. I don't have to worry about trying to gently take the water slide off the backing or anything like that, and less chance, for me at least, to crack the water slide or fiddle fire around with it. And then I make sure that I squeegee out all the water with this silicone brush, and making sure each edge is lined up and laid down flat. And then while it's still kind of wet, I am taking a sharp craft knife. I should have had a little bit sharper because this took a little bit to cut through, but and I cut where it is overlapped. And you want to do this while the cup is still wet, because once this water slide dries, it is stuck, y'all. So then after I cut this, I go ahead and take that little piece off, and then I'm going to pop this on my drying rack for about an hour. I've stopped drying with paper towels because I found that as it shrinks, if it doesn't have enough moisture in the water slide, it tends to crack. And so that's why I don't dry it with a paper towel anymore. So after drying, I pop it on my turner, use this level to make sure it's completely level on my turner. That way you don't get any muffin tops or bubble butts or anything like that. And then I use this gloss polyacrylic to seal in every part of this water slide. That way you don't have any or less issues with like fish eyes and the acrylic repelling, or even sometimes the edges of the water slide before I used to use this would kind of lift or rise as the epoxy was curing. So I pretty much seal everything in polyacrylic now. So then I let this dry for about a half an hour to an hour, and I'm going in with my first coat of Artistry epoxy. I am applying about 15 to 20 milliliters. This is the Artistry Medium Viscosity. It sets up a little thicker, so you don't have to use quite as much. I really love it because I have gotten such great results. No bubbles. It's crystal clear. Like on this white, you guys, like you can't see anything. It's just shiny. And I love that I have the peace of mind that this cup will stay white for a long, long time. And the reason I'm sealing in this water slide before I move on is that way if I get any mess ups with my glitter or anything like that, I can just wipe it off and the water slide will be completely protected underneath. So then I just use this butane kitchen torch that I got off of Amazon, and I'm popping any bubbles, making sure I'm not staying in the same place for any length of time. That way I don't risk scorching the epoxy. And then I'm gonna let this spin for about 8 to 10 hours. So moving on to glitter. I did a 1 part Opal of My Eye and 3 parts Morning Snow mixed with just a small amount of Opal Ice mix. And these glitters are all from Grateful Glitters. Oh my gosh, if you guys haven't tried them yet, seriously, check them out. I wanted the glitter to show, but not to be like a really opaque coverage, so that's why I chose this combination of colors. So now I'm moving on. I've just mixed up about 5 milliliters of epoxy. You want enough to be able to secure the glitter to your cup, but too much epoxy will cause your glitter to look kind of matted down when it cures, so just keep that in mind. And I'm using this to do like the epoxy method for putting my glitter on this cup. Remember that water slide is completely sealed underneath, so we don't have to worry about that. And just like with all the other epoxy method glitter applications, you want to make sure that you get it completely all over the cup with no lines if you can help it. If you find you're having a problem with lines, just put it off to the side for a couple of minutes to let it self-level, and it should work all your lines out for you. So then after I get this completely covered with the epoxy and make sure there's no lines, I'm going to move on to glittering it. I'm going to start by aiming at this bottom rim to get full coverage along that and full coverage along the entire very bottom of the cup. I'm going to treat this almost like I would an ombre or like a waterfall. But the key here is after this initial like full coverage line at the bottom, you want to go slow and steady. You don't want to dump too much and risk getting too much or too high up your cup. I'm just looking for a nice gentle fade of that glitter up into that cup a little bit. And I don't know if you can see here on camera, but as I'm tilting it, I'm not even going to be at a 45-degree angle or anything like that. It's just barely tilted up to let it kind of fall or cascade down. And I do this a couple of times, going kind of back and forth until I get the amount of glitter that I want on this kind of fade up into the cup. I'm then going to move on to that back seam, and I'm treating this just like I did the top and the bottom rim of this cup. I'm going to put a solid line of glitter right down the center of that seam, and then I'm going to kind of tilt my cup a little bit each direction off of that seam and let that glitter kind of cascade off of that. And this is going to provide the base layer to the next part of our design. And then after I tap off the glitter, I'm going to take a piece of wax paper and kind of press it down to get all those chunky pieces pressed down from that opal ice mix. It's a bigger, chunkier, like shards of glass almost. So you want to make sure those are pressed down really well so you don't have to epoxy so many layers to get it smooth. I slowed this part down to show you guys kind of how I have that wax paper tucked between my pinky and my ring finger, and then again between my pointer finger and my thumb. That kind of helps me to secure the wax paper on my hand as I'm patting it down. I then put this on my drying rack for 6 hours to set up, and I moved on to epoxying until smooth. I did the flood coat, and the first part of this flood coat is I used 25 milliliters of epoxy. The second part of the flood coat, 4 hours later, I used 20 milliliters of epoxy, and then I let set overnight, which was probably about 10 hours, 12 hours maybe, until I got back to the cup. The next day, I sanded the rim and then took it outside and sprayed white Rust-Oleum spray paint over that back seam area where the two sides of the water slide met up, and we glittered and sprayed like that bleach spot spray. And if you guys need a visual to this, I will link a video that has the bleach spot method in full detail down in the description. Now I'm taking this sweet picture that I cropped into a heart shape and added a border to it. I placed these hearts around the outside, and then I printed this also on the clear Hiippoo Waterslide in a mirrored fashion so I can do the face down method like I did for the full water slide part. I placed the water slide down where I wanted it on the cup, and then I kind of just slid that backing off like I did for the full water slide, holding the top with my thumb to secure it there. And then I take that silicone squeegee, get it wet, and just go over it several times in all different directions to try to get the air bubbles and any trapped water out of there. I then set this on my drying rack and let it air dry for about an hour. And just like with the full water slide, I'm going to use this gloss polyacrylic and seal this completely in. I make sure I go, up and down, side to side, making sure I get every single edge of this water slide. And then I let this dry for like 30 minutes to an hour, and I then epoxied till smooth. I used about 15 to 20 milliliters for each of the next 2 coats of epoxy, and then it was done. This was a memorial cup for this sweet lady that lost her husband, so definitely say a prayer for her if you guys would. Also, my son's girlfriend is the niece of this gentleman, so please say a prayer for her as well. And so that's it, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Make sure to go back and catch any of the secret messages that you may have missed to enter to win the Ugly Sweater Cup. And thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe, hit that bell notification, and leave any comments if you have any questions. Thanks for watching, you guys. Have a great day. Bye-bye.